Hello and welcome to this class where I'm going to show you how you can really easily begin to veganize your menus. Of course, this, like everything in life, is gonna take a bit of practice, but I assure you that after 2 weeks, 1 month, you will get to know your favorite recipes and you will be really confident at making them. You will realize how delicious they are and how light, how energized, and how amazing they make you feel that you are not going to want to come back. So, we're going to begin. Here we have day one. I just put a really common example of what a breakfast could be, which is some toast with butter and jam. And then, of course, a coffee with milk. And here on green, I veganized it and I also gave it a little bit of a more healthy vibe. So what I made is your good old porridge. So we have our porridge oats. I'm gonna add some blueberries because your berries are the healthiest of fruits. And I always recommend to have them every day. So you could buy some frozen berries or blueberries, any type of berry that you like, and simply add them to your porridge oats. You can add some hot water to it, or you can also add a little bit of a soy drink if you don't like soya. You can add a almond drink, you can have a oat drink. Hazelnut drink is absolutely delicious. So I recommend you keep looking, keep trying. And if you can buy a fortified drink, you will have some extra minerals and vitamins in there to start your day. I am also going to add some chia seeds since they are super high in omega-3 and we need to get this omega-3 from these seeds. So it's really easy. You can just add a teaspoon or a tablespoon onto your oats. And then we're gonna add a pinch of cinnamon because cinnamon helps to balance the sugars in blood. So it's gonna stop you from having a peak of glucose on your blood that early in the morning. And so with the combination of the protein on chia seeds, it's gonna help you stay fuller for longer. So here is my day one veganized. Of course, if you don't like porridge, another alternative to make it closer to day one would be to swap the butter for example, peanut butter. So you could have your toast. Ideally, of course, they would have to be whole. So the less processed, the better. So like a rye sourdough, for example, would be a really good alternative. And you could add your peanut butter, and instead of jam, you could add some fresh strawberries, and then do a sprinkle of the cinnamon and a sprinkle of the chia seeds. And then you can have your coffee, and then instead of milk, you will add your soy milk to it. And oat milk, barista oat milk, is especially delicious on coffee. So I highly recommend you try that one and let me know how you liked it. Then we move on to our lunch. In this case, I just add a tuna salad. So easy, we're just gonna substitute that tuna for some quinoa. So here we have a quinoa salad, and you can buy the quinoa already made and simply add whatever you want to it. In my case, I added some tomatoes, some sprouts that you can buy or you can grow yourself. They're super easy to grow. Within 3 to 4 days, you have sprouts ready to go, so you can buy the seeds for it. Then I'm gonna add some asparagus and some arugula to have those greens added to our day, which are again the healthiest of the vegetables. So from the quinoa, you get the protein for this meal, and then you get a ton of nutrition with all of these veggies that we added. And then for our snack, I just added some crisps. Really easy to grab a bag of crisps, and as easy as that, it is to grab a few nuts. So you could have a handful of nuts, perhaps a piece of fruit, and then if you wanted to, instead of, for example, grabbing another coffee, you could go for tea this time. So you could have a matcha tea, super healthy, green tea, oolong tea, or if you want to avoid caffeine altogether, of course, you would always have a herbal option, such as mint tea. You could have fennel tea, amazing for digestion. You could go for Tulsi tea if you wanted to help your memory a bit. So go ahead and experiment because it's such a healthy way to stay full, to hydrate yourself, and give yourself extra properties and extra antioxidants. Then for dinner, we're gonna have bolognese pasta, and to veganize it, I just added some lentils to pasta. Of course, try to buy pasta as whole as you can, so as brown as possible. And if you were celiac or you had any intolerance, of course, you can always add gluten-free pasta. Then for our greens, I'm gonna add some spinach. And for the sauce, just plain tomato sauce and some spices to give yourself that extra antioxidants, that extra taste. Paprika, for example, goes really well with the tomato sauce and with the pasta. If you wanted to make it even easier, you can simply just buy lentil pasta because there you will have your protein. Or you could even just buy your normal pasta and instead of adding some mince, you could add some soy mince. So it would be as easy as that. Cook your pasta as usual and add some of the soy mince. If you're really craving some cheese with it, for example, you could get some nutritional yeast, which would have the cheesy flavor and would also give you a ton of B vitamins. Or nowadays, it's really easy to simply go ahead and buy some vegan cheese. Of course, use it sparingly as much as possible as it is a processed product. So with this, we're gonna move on to day two, where for breakfast we have yogurt with cereal and then tea and milk. So really, really easy swap. Substitute the yogurt for soy yogurt, oat yogurt, almond yogurt, so many types of yogurts out there. Even on the vegan yogurts, you will find those probiotics, you will find those good bacteria for your intestinal flora. Just make sure that they are unsweetened, as so many of these plant-based yogurts will add a ton of sugar to them. So again, go look for the sugar-free version. And instead of cereal, like a sugary cereal, you can get some sugar-free granola, or you can make a homemade granola as well. And in the granola, you could have some nuts, or you could add a little bit of peanut butter for the extra proteins in there. And the granola would also probably have dried fruit. So that would be like your piece of fruit for breakfast. Fresh fruit, of course, is always better than dried fruit. But on the dry fruit, you will still have a ton of properties and a ton of fiber. So it will be a really good substitute to that cereal that will be like super processed. And then we're gonna add a little bit of milled linseeds or flax seeds. Really important that they're milled, again, because otherwise you won't be absorbing them. As they go in, they will go out. However, if you mill them, make them into a powder, and your body will be able to absorb them. And you will get a lot of omega-3, that protein, and of course that precious fiber will still be there. Then for your tea and milk, again, like with coffee, substitute that milk for an oat drink or any type of plant-based drink that you like. We move on to lunch, where we have a chicken sandwich. So, simple enough, substitute the chicken for some hummus. Here is where you're gonna get your protein. For the sandwich, instead of white bread, again, try to get something a bit more whole, like rice, sourdough, as I mentioned, or spelt is another good option. And we added a little bit of sauerkraut, which is fermented cabbage. And cabbage is part of the cruciferous family of vegetables and is one of the healthiest. So I will always recommend to try to get this type of veggies once a day. And also the sauerkraut will give it that punch to it, a little bit vinegary, and as it is a fermented food, extra probiotics for your gut, so super healthy. If you don't like sauerkraut or you don't like pickles or anything vinegary like that, you can simply just add some tomatoes into your hummus, some spinach, some salad leaves, some more sprouts. Anything that you have in hand really goes well with hummus. Like hummus goes well with absolutely everything. If you wanted to avoid the toast, you could just chop some veggies. So chop some raw peppers, raw carrots, some celery, and you could just dip that into your hummus, and there you have like a really, really light lunch. We're gonna have a piece of fruit for dessert, and here for our snack we have fruit juice. However, on fruit juice, they remove all of the precious fiber of the fruits, and we really want to avoid that as much as possible, and especially with fruit. If you were to have a juice, a healthy juice, always try to find one that will have vegetables added to it. Try to avoid fruit juices as much as possible because it will be a ton of fructose into your system. And fructose is absolutely fine if it goes together with the fiber of the fruit. However, if you remove that fiber, it really is a shot to your system. So instead of having the fruit juice, we're gonna have the best alternative that there is, which is having a smoothie. Because in the smoothie, you don't get rid of that fiber. Just make sure that you drink your smoothie slowly and you will be perfectly fine. Also, on the smoothie, you can pack a ton of nutrition in a small space. So if you're one of those people who don't really have time for breakfast or don't really even have time to eat at work because you're so busy, it's just so handy to make a smoothie in the morning, take it with you to work, and drink it as you go, like you're drinking your tea, for example. So in this case, we added some berries. Again, you could just use some of the frozen berries you have there. You could add a banana for that sweetness, for that nice texture, and for that extra glucose to keep you going. You can add some kale. So again, even in your smoothies, try to add some sort of veggies. With kale, it's really handy. I usually just go buy a really big bag. I wash it, I chop it, and I keep it on my freezer. So I know I will always have enough things on my freezer for an emergency smoothie. Also, you can freeze bananas as well. So you can peel them, chop them, keep them in a bag in your freezer, and they're ready to go. And you could add a little bit of oat milk or any other plant-based drink that you have around. Or you can simply add water. If you have any superfoods, a smoothie is a perfect way to incorporate them. So you could add some acai powder, camu camu powder, some maca. If you have some chlorella or spirulina, you can add it here. And you can also add a little bit of a protein powder here, especially if your smoothie is gonna substitute a meal. So for what I mentioned early, those people who don't have really time to eat and you want to make a smoothie as your meal, you could add that protein powder or you could add some peanut butter in the smoothie as well. You could add some seeds. Just make sure that you add the seeds a little bit before you drink it. Otherwise, your smoothie is going to become more like a jelly because of the seeds properties. I do always say have the ingredients for the smoothie always ready. And if you have a week where you haven't been eating the best, you had to have a ton of processed foods because we have days like that, we have weeks like that. It's fine. We're humans. We live on a stress world. We can't help it. However, you can always just make a smoothie a couple of times a week, and at least you're making sure that you're getting this amount of nutrition into your body. So I really highly recommend them. And then we move on for dinner, where I put some hake with peas, so any type of fish with peas. And again, super easy to substitute. You substitute the fish for a tofu fillet, and you can buy them already flavored, marinated, and simply fry them on a pan. You don't even need to add oil, side by side. It takes you 1 minute. And then on the side, you can add any type of grains. In this case, I put some bulgur, but you can add a gluten-free option like millet, quinoa, amaranth. You could also add some couscous, for example, and then any type of veggies you want. I added some broccoli because again, cruciferous vegetables, super healthy for you. But absolutely any vegetable you have on hand, aubergine, courgette, pumpkin, you can add it here. And it's as easy as that. You can also like batch cook, so make it to last you a couple of days. And this is such an easy, simple dinner. And for those days when you really don't feel like cooking, it's always so handy to just have those tofu fillets in your fridge. They take, again, 1 to 2 minutes to cook, and you can just put this together, this couscous with the veggies or millet with the veggies, or simply just make yourself a really big salad. We move to the last day, to day 3, where we start our day with muesli and milk. And really easy to substitute here. Substitute the milk for a plant-based drink. You can keep the muesli, but as usual, try to make sure that there's no powdered milk in it. Sometimes they add powdered milk to muesli. And make sure that it's sugar-free as much as possible. If you wanted to, of course, give it a little bit of extra protein and extra nutrition, you can add some seeds. So in this case, I put some pumpkin and linseeds, and of course that pinch of cinnamon to help to balance those sugars in the blood. For lunch, I have an omelette, potato omelette, and we're gonna substitute that for again another sourdough toast. In this case, instead of hummus, you can add some avocado to it. You can mix the avocado with tahini, which is sesame seeds paste, and it's super high in protein, so you can add your protein there. And for those probiotics, I decided to add some kimchi, which is fermented. Chinese cabbage with the spices. So kimchi is a little bit spicy. So for those of you who like a little bit of spiciness on your food, this one is amazing. If you feel you don't like kimchi that much, you could add sauerkraut on top of your toast, or you could add some seeds, tomatoes, or some salad leaves, for example. And we added some veggie soup, like a beetroot veggie soup, just to, give a bit more variety. Soups are really handy to just buy ready-made. But batch cooking is again another amazing idea. So you can make your veggie soup on the weekend and you will have it for half of the week. You can also just keep it frozen and simply just warm it up as you need it. And again, for dessert, we're adding that piece of fruit. For a snack, instead of cookies, we're gonna have some walnuts, some fruit, and a tea. So any type of tea that you want, as we mentioned. So you could have like a green tea, or if you prefer something caffeine free, just make yourself a herbal tea. However, you might get those cravings for cookies, and this is absolutely normal and absolutely fine. The key thing that I always recommend people is to try to find a healthier version of those cookies. Or you can batch cook over the weekend, make yourself some energy balls, which has like dates, peanut butter, maybe some desiccated coconut, some dried fruit. You make them over the weekend and you have them for the rest of the week, and you can take them with you to work or have a handy snack for when you come from work. And instead of going shopping and grabbing, you know, that packet of cookies, you know that home you will have a healthier version of them. So you, every time you're looking up for recipes, look up for healthy cookies, vegan, and try to look for processed-free ingredients. So for example, when you find a recipe, instead of adding sugar to it, they will sweeten it with dates, which is a whole food. Instead of using cocoa, they will use 100% raw cacao. Instead of using flour, perhaps they will use milled oats. So try to look for those recipes. Chickpea cookies is an alternative that I love. It's super healthy, high in protein, and it is delicious. Trust me, it doesn't really taste like chickpeas. Black bean brownies is another really good recipe alternative to have in hand. You can also make really simple banana biscuits, and again, just always keep them there in the fridge for when you have those cravings. That would be my advice. If you don't want to bother baking or cooking, because half of these recipes really are raw and really easy to make, but you can make a super healthy and at the same time delicious smoothie. So for example, just adding some bananas, some cacao, some hazelnut butter or hazelnut milk, and you will definitely satisfy those chocolate sugar cravings, but you're only using whole foods. So you know that it is completely healthy for you, you're satisfying those cravings, and you're getting a ton of nutrition. So it's really a win-win. Finally, for dinner, here I have a veggie soup with a steak. Since we already had a veggie soup, just to give you another alternative, this is one of my staples, and it is lentil curry. So you can use any type of lentils. However, red lentils are really easy to cook. And you can buy the curry paste or the curry spices already blended for you. And in this curry, we're gonna add some peas and some tomato sauce. But again, you could add absolutely any veggie that you have on the fridge that day. Or you can also buy those bags or frozen veggies, which are chopped for you. So preparing this will really only take about 5 minutes. And then it might take another 15 minutes of cooking where you can just be doing your own thing. And you can serve this with a little bit of rice if you want. So you can have brown basmati rice, or even better, black rice, red rice, or white rice. So the more colorful, the better, as always. Curries are such an amazing way to batch cook because they taste more delicious with time. So every time I make curry, I make sure that I cook at least like 2 or 3 servings. So I have for the next 2 days. Or perhaps I can freeze a little bit for one of those rainy days where I don't have time or I don't feel like cooking. That's it for these 3 days of veganizing your menu. I really hope you learned a lot. I hope you got inspiration. And I hope it helped you to see that it really is this simple. And all it takes is for you to really slowly start to try new recipes. And as I mentioned at the beginning, just get used to them, try different ones. You can start by trying 1 or 2 recipes a week and then keep introducing them more and more again until you gain that confidence. And now I will leave you to it. It's time to put everything to practice. So please let me know of any questions. Go out there. There's so many resources that you can find. Go to YouTube, find different Instagram profiles with recipes, go for recipe blogs as well, and start to experiment. Let me tell you that you're gonna open up your mind to amazing, delicious, and healthy dishes. And you're going to discover such an amazing world. You're gonna feel so amazing that, trust me, you're not going to want to come back. So I leave you to it. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. I wish you the best. Thanks again and stay healthy.